got my cheat sheet just in case I go blank again like I did last time. I might look dumb, but faith. That's what the readings are about today, faith. Remember those commercials years ago, got milk? See it on the bus, the guy with the milk mustache, got milk. Well, today, I think if we had a commercial, it would be got faith. Got faith. What is faith? Can all of us safely raise our hands today and say, yeah, we have faith? Can we? Yeah, let's see it. We have faith. Very good. So we raise our hands and say we have faith, but do we know what faith is? What is faith? St. Paul tells us today in the second reading, in his letter to the Hebrews, faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Wow, that hurt. That's like an ice cream patty, right? That's like one of those brain freezes. Wow. Faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Wow. Do you have faith? Do you have faith? You know what? Let's look at Abraham and get a better idea of what this faith really is. Abraham, minding his own business. He's elderly, I'm guessing in his 70s, 80s. For those days, very old. Living with his wife Sarah, no children, just the two of them, minding their own business. Probably farming some, right? Just trying to get by day. And God tells him, pick it up. Pick up and move it out. Pick up and go to a place. Go to a place you don't know. Go to a place that's so unfamiliar to you. And he does it. I laugh, he does it. How many of us would do that? I wouldn't. I know, I got my schedule. I get up in the morning. I know what I'm doing from minute to minute, hour to hour. I have my routine, and I don't want to break my routine. And at 7 o'clock, my Mets are coming on. I want to be sitting in front of that TV watching my Mets. But God said to Abraham, pick it up and move on. Step out of your comfort zone. And he did it. God promised him, you're going to have descendants. You're going to have many heirs, as many as the stars in the sky, as many as the sand, grains of sand on the seashore. You have to move. Pick it up. And Abraham believed it. He had faith. He believed something that he hoped for. He hoped to have heirs. His hope forever was to have children and to have heirs. His faith was the realization of what was hoped for. And he hoped for it, and his faith was so strong that he could actually see it come to fruition. Evidence of things not seen. The evidence was the amount of faith he had and what he was willing to do to get to what he needed, to what God had called him to. He believed from the depths of his heart, from the pit of his stomach. How many of us have that kind of faith? How many of us could put ourselves in Abraham's place? First of all, try and explain it to Sarah. I know what my wife would say. You're moving? I don't think so. But I do. Both of them, they get up and they move. They had faith in something that seemed so impossible. They trusted. Their faith was so strong, they trusted that God was going to make possible what seemed impossible. Years later, they have a son, Isaac. It happened. They had a child, Sarah. She was old, but even when she wasn't old, she was barren. She couldn't bear children. But they had such strong faith, and they trusted what God had promised. And now he had a son. But then, what happens? God says, you need to sacrifice your son. Whoa. Whoa. Wait a second. You told me I'm going to have many heirs. You give me this son, and then you tell me to sacrifice him. How am I supposed to have all these heirs? How am I supposed to have all these ancestors? All these people to follow me? What does Abraham do? He does what God tells him. His faith is so strong that he knows that God is going to find a way to fulfill the promise that he made. So Abraham prepares the place to sacrifice Isaac. And just before he's ready to plunge the knife into Isaac's chest, God intervenes and says, no, now I know how faithful you are. Now I know how much you believe. So I ask you, do you have faith? Do you have that kind of faith that if God asked you to sacrifice your only child, you would do it? Wow. Brain freeze. Makes you think. Faith. Faith is deep. Faith requires us to put our lives in the hands of God. To turn our will and our lives over to the care of God and trust that He will find a way to make it right for us. Faith. Wow, it's so hard. Who's willing to do that? Who's willing to let go of everything? God, here it is. Here it is. I'm not going to worry anymore. I have a family member suffering from cancer, and I turn it over to you, and that's no longer a worry for me. I have a child suffering from addiction, but Lord, I hand it to you, and I don't worry anymore. Faith. Real faith will allow you to do that. Real faith will allow you to let go and let God. But I know for me, I find it very difficult. I find it very difficult. I don't know about you guys, I can only assume. I find it very difficult to turn it over to God, to have so much faith that I can trust that He's going to find a way to make something good come out of this. Faith. What is faith? Realization of what is hoped for, evidence. Something that is not seen yet. If your faith is so strong, you can see what God's plan is. You can actually see it, even though you might not actually witness it in your lifetime. You can just visualize it. You can taste it. You can feel it. You trust so much. Faith. Our Blessed Mother, who said, "Let it be done to me according to your will." That was faith. How many of us could do that? Just let it be done to me, Lord. I'm going to watch the Met game at 7, but whatever else around that, I'm fine. No. Faith. It's so hard. But you know what? Jesus understood us. He understood us because He humbled Himself. He took the form of man so that He could be just like us in all things except sin. So He knows our struggles. He knows our temptations because He faced temptation. He knows pain. He knows fear. He shares in our tears. He knows who we are. And He gives us strength. And He gives us courage. And He says, I will hold your hand and guide you so you can have faith, so that you can let God, you can let go and let God. I'll hold you and guide you and carry you if I have to. I will get you there. It's God, by His cross and resurrection, redeemed the world. God, by His cross and His resurrection, gave us salvation. Despite our brokenness, despite our reluctance to let go, despite our reluctance to let God do what He has to do, He gave us salvation. Do you believe that? Does your faith allow you to believe that that Jesus has given us salvation through his cross and his resurrection? Believe it, because it's true. And the only way you're going to lose salvation is if you refuse to accept it. The only way that's going to be not going to be taken from you. The only way you can lose it is if you give it away. God is never going to take that away from you. You have it. It's yours. Salvation. But we need to accept it. Well, how do we refuse it? We don't do what is right. If you believe that God gives us salvation, then you also believe that Jesus is going to come again, don't you? Is Jesus going to come again?
Yes.
Yes, he's going to come again. And if Jesus is going to come again, he says, gird your loins and light your lamps and be prepared. I'm coming. And you have salvation. And I'm going to show you how you can keep it. Gird your loins and light your lamps. Light your lamps. Well, you know what? Show mercy to one another, and those lamps, they'll burn brightly. Forgive one another, and those lamps will glow. Love one another, and those lamps will light up the world. Pray for one another, and the light will be cast out all over. What if we can't? I mean, I can't always love people. I can't always forgive. I can't always have mercy. It's so hard, right? This world we live in, look at what we see every day. But I have faith, and I know that Jesus can lead me there. I have faith, and I believe that I have salvation freely given to me. And the only way I'm going to lose it is if I don't do those things. If I don't love one another, if I don't show mercy, if I don't forgive, if I don't pray for others, that's the only way the light is going to go out. That's the only way I'm going to lose salvation. And we can keep it. When our light starts to dim, we can turn to God. We can turn to Jesus and say, Lord, help me. Help me to do what you asked me to do. When our light starts to dim, we can turn to the Scriptures and let that light burn bright within us. Let it reignite that flame of hope and love. When that light starts to dim, we can receive our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament, the very body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus himself. We can nourish ourselves with him and become stronger and more courageous and do the things that we thought were impossible. If Sarah can have children at that age, my God, we can learn to forgive and to love and to show mercy and to pray for one another. If Abraham and Sarah at their old age could have the courage to pick up and move on to a place unknown, move into a place that's just so uncomfortable for them, we can do the same. We can do something that's just going to make us a little bit more uncomfortable. We, in our faith, can become everything God created us to be. We can accept salvation. We can share love, mercy, compassion with everyone. We can be the light of Christ. But until he comes, we must be prepared. So I say to you, just as Jesus said to you, gird your loins. Dress up nice. Light your lamps, because you don't know when he's going to come. Could be tonight. Could be tomorrow. But our faith tells us he is coming. And if our faith is strong enough, we'll be able to see it. We'll be able to taste it. We'll be able to touch it. we will know from the bottom of our hearts, from the pits of our stomachs, we will know. It will be real. Faith, the realization of what is hoped for, and evidence of things not seen. Lord, help us. Help us to be stronger. Help us to have more faith. Help us to trust you. Help us to turn our lives and our will over to your care. Let us learn to allow your will to be done, Lord, not our will. Then, and only then, will we be true people of faith. But one thing is certain, we can't do it without the help of Jesus. Amen.